Namaste. This is another very quick podcast based on Yasmin Hetherington's blog and his pamphlet on the basis of Aaiyyanist philosophy. So this chapter, I'm just picking out chapters from different parts of the pamphlet. So I'm not reading in order. There isn't really an order if you look at the pamphlet, which is on the. If you're a member of the Aaiyyanist Foundation, you can read this in English on their member site, their members area, or you can get it on Amazon as well. But yeah, I mean, there is an order of the book, but it's each chapter is standalone basically. So I can pick and choose which bits I want to talk about, and I'll just talk about it anyway. So this particular chapter is called "How Does One Become a Full Aaiyyanist? Patience and Vocation." So I'll just read it from the Aaiyyanist Foundation site, which is also the same text as on Yasmin Hetherington's blog, and also on Amazon. Or if you have the book yourself, you can read it. But I'll read it and I'll talk around what Yasmin's saying. As you know, Yasmin's a sort of high Aaiyyanist, and if people know him, you'll know you'll have read this book before, I guess. Okay, so I'll just start with reading, I think. So, until very recently as 25 years ago, actually it's a bit longer now because this was written a few years ago, so, anyway, so carry on. Until very recently as 25 years ago, the Aaiyanists worldwide did not accept new members. It was in fact forbidden to preach and declare yourself to be an Aaiyyanist, as it was considered to be an egotistical act. Thus, it was almost impossible for new members to be recruited, as there was not much knowledge about Aayanism outside the Dravidian fold. So basically, what Yasmin's saying is that only just recently that we've opened our doors to the wider general public. Most of Aayanist knowledge was just basically in Tamil Nadu. Dravidian Aayanist speakers would be there, and there were other Aayanists worldwide as well, of course, but mainly it was just Dravidian Aaiyanists who would be sort of be engaged with the Aayanism. And also you weren't allowed to preach you were Aayanist because that would be considered an egotistical act. So if you go to temples in India, you'll see Murugan worshippers, traditional ones, but also there'll be Aayanists there as well who are full Murugan worshippers as they would call themselves. So yes, okay, I shall just continue on. I've lost my place. Yeah, sorry, I just lost my place there for a second. I was talking about it so much I forgot where I was. Okay, so the next paragraph is this. However, 25 years ago, the Aaiyyanist Foundation decided to open its teachings to the outside world, and is now recruiting new members from around the world to share and experience the ideas and teachings of Murugan Aayan and our Dravidian Shaivite philosophy. So, yeah, 25 years ago, it's actually a bit longer than that now. But I can't remember the exact date, but it was decided by the Aaiyanists Foundation to just open it all up. And there was this theory that there were Aaiyanists who weren't born within the Dravidian Aayanist fold, who chose to live outside it in order to preach Aayanism or come to Aayanism from a different perspective. So if you're continuously born as an Aayanist, you'll only have one you'll be trapped in a bubble of Aayanism, Murugan worship and that sort of thing. So they wanted, I believe, it's a conscious choice by people to be born outside of Aayanism, and this was also reflected in the Aaiyanists Foundation, therefore opening it up so it could trigger those ancient memories back from the people who are outside of Aayanism back into the fold, and then bring forth their new experiences to the wider Aayanist community. Basically, as Murugan Aayan tries to make Brahman more than themselves, that was a theory anyway. It still is a theory, should I say. But obviously there are high issues with this. Okay, so the next paragraph is this. This has, however, highlighted an issue which has just recently been brought up by the Iron Chamber. As the Iron Wall Foundation, Orion, as you know, as the Iron Wall Foundation has opened its doors to non-members, what we are finding is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people continuously asking for information, ironstones, books, and paintings. The new members are keen to learn and are seeking spiritual enlightenment, and we applaud that. However, they have the wrong Aaiyyanist mindset. The pure Aaiyyanist mindset of whatever school you're from is one of patience and vocation. Okay, I just have to clarify this. This is Sivan's own opinion, and it's opinion also of many other Aaiyanists around the world, but some other Aaiyanists don't have this opinion as well. But and a lot of the people who are coming to us are not just English speakers. In fact, the majority are Tamil speakers. So that's why I'm hiring some how can I put it, Aaiyanists, some volunteers to help me speak to other Aaiyanists in Tamil and some other languages as well, Telugu as well. But I will. Sorry, there's some children playing outside. If you can hear some noises in the background. Anyway, so that is the issue. The pure Aaiyanists mindset is patience and vocation. Of Sivan, Adayan, and many Aaiyanists who believe that, but not all Aaiyanists believe that as well. Aayanism encompasses the whole of Brahman thought, so patience and vocation, and people who are pursuing it rapidly is good as well. So anyway, so that's the third paragraph of this little pamphlet, this chapter of the pamphlet, the basis of Aaiyyanist philosophy. Yes, apologies if you hear lots of shouting outside, or I'm staying at a fellow Aaiyanists' house, and yes, I'm just sleeping on the floor as I usually do as part of my duties of travelling around different places. So that's why I'm sort of in a different place. I've actually been here before, so I've done a podcast from here before, from this particular room. Usually you have the sort of the yellow background, but now I'm here doing some other duties. Anyway, I'll just continue reading. So if you hear any sort of shouting or screaming, don't panic. It's just I'm in a different scenario, different surrounding. Okay, so I'll just continue reading what Sivan's saying. So let me repeat this for it is very important. I mean, I'm back to reading now. So the fourth paragraph starts like this. We were talking about patience and vocation, if you recall. So let me repeat this, for this is very important. One of the greatest virtues of Aayanism is patience. This is prized by all Aayanist groups and schools around the world. That is true, what he's saying. The majority, I would say, not quite all, but the majority. It is the act of patience that defines you and shows us that you are grounded in the long term. In other words, you must perceive time in terms of years and many lifetimes, as this is usually the timescale before you achieve oneness. Many people in this modern world think in terms of the present or the near future. The perfected Aayanist is a universal timeless being that should think in terms of aeons and millennia. Okay, yeah, so basically Sivan's sort of regurgitating the typical Aayanist mindset of thinking long term for many thousands of years. But, as I said, Aayanism is a holistic philosophy, so there are Aayanist groups who don't believe that. They believe in the here and now, the point in time, the next 5 minutes, something, or the previous past. I mean, there's many different philosophies of it, but the majority, I would say, have this long-term view of thinking about their continuous incarnations to achieve Brahman oneness. But obviously, Brahman encompasses all thought, so other philosophies are also permitted. Permitted is the wrong English word. Is allowed is also a funny word. Is other philosophies are part of it all. That's what I'm trying to say. Part of Brahman, of course. Okay, I'll just continue reading. As all Aayanists know, a typical Aayanist education takes a lifetime and many lifetimes to finish. Okay, this is true. I mean, I'm going through that myself as well, and as many of you are listening to this podcast are too. In fact, the lowest level of Acharya takes at least 15 years to complete. It takes around 30 years to become a Mula Swami, the lowest of the levels. Remember, nothing of any significance is achieved in weeks or months. If you are serious in the doctrine of Aayanism, your studies will take years. So basically, there's different there's levels of Aayanism. Acharya is the first, and then Mula Swami, and it basically, if you look at the Iron Foundation, they have a very good sort of structure of all the different levels you can achieve. So, and basically what Simon's saying is that if you're serious about Aaiyyanism as a doctrine, it takes many years of study. You just can't. There's no shortcuts really. So what does this mean? This is the next paragraph. Well, it means that the Iron Foundation is looking for people who are deeply meditative and patient in their studies. They're looking for people who are not impulsive or impatient. The Iron Foundation is looking for people that can think and plan in years and many lifetimes. In other words, the individuals that the Iron Foundation usually concentrate on and send their material instructions to first are the individuals that make no demands and simply wish to learn over a lifetime. The individuals that are too keen and pushy for knowledge do not demonstrate the purest Aaiyyanist mindset. They, of course, will be sent information too, but the Iron Foundation has made a conscious decision to link with like-minded individuals first, the ones that demonstrate meditative patience before linking with the wider general public. Okay, that's quite a mouth. I'll actually read that again, actually. So what does this mean? Well, it means that the Iron Foundation is looking for people who are deeply meditative and patient in their studies. So looking for very patient people. They're looking for people who are not impulsive or impatient. Okay, so not people who are like that. The Iron Foundation is looking for people that can think and plan in years and many lifetimes. So, and they're looking for people that make no demands and simply wish to learn. The individuals that are too keen or too pushy for knowledge, who do not demonstrate the purest Aaiyyanist mindset. They'll be sent information, of course, but the Iron Foundation is making a conscious decision to link with like-minded individuals first. This was true when Simon was sort of doing things at the Iron Foundation. He's not that involved now. Obviously, as you know, that I've been sort of thrust into the front seat of the Iron Foundation. So when Simon was doing that, he was looking for people who are more long-termism. I'm more open. So if people want information, we'll send it to them. I'm not going to distinguish between people who are pushy or impatient. The general Aaiyyanist mindset is people who are very patient and long-term and come to things slowly. But if you're asking for information and you're desperate in need for that sort of knowledge, if it's been triggered in your brain and then you're having remembrance of being an Aaiyyanist, and then you really want to pursue that again in this lifetime, not to waste any more time, that's fine. I think that's okay. So obviously this pamphlet was written a few years ago. Things evolve over time. Generally, Aaiyanists look for people who are patient and very sort of meditative, depending on which group you are, of course. Obviously, an Atmani or Ardra school Aayanist would sort of go with this knowledge. Tantric Aayanist may be more impatient. Actually, sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's a bit sectarian to say that, but you get the general just what I'm saying. Different Aayanists have different sort of philosophies and things. Anyway, so what I'm going to read here is what was the policy of Aayanism. It's not quite the policy now, but I am getting volunteers to help me, and so they have their own thoughts about things as well. So there's a flat structure at the Iron Foundation, even though there's different levels of knowledge and things. Okay, so I will just find my place again and just read the next part. Okay, I'll sort of continue on reading. So this is Simon's thoughts, okay, and it was the thoughts of majority of Aaiyanists who were the higher ups that sort of not dictate, but sort of nudge us into the sort of the right path. So anyway, Simon's next paragraph goes like this: there is no point constantly requesting information if it takes a lifetime to understand the concepts. In fact, the Iron Foundation, Aayanist schools, and the Chamber have found that the people who strive for knowledge and push for it soon become bored and move their studies to other fields as quickly as night follows day. These individuals are constantly looking for something but never finding it, because they do not have the spiritual mentality required to be one with the universe in Aayanism. Yeah, that's actually quite harsh. If people, I'm a bit more easygoing, as you've gathered. If people want information, we'll send it to them. The only problem I have though is that we're having so many emails that I never get around to emailing people. So it's a shame really. I will be sending emails out over the next week or so. I've got sort of an email list of like 100 times 100 sort of email list to send out. So 100 people on 100 emails. So it's of each email. So it's a massive list of people I have to be emailing. So I'm going to sort of standardize the message and just send the newsletter out as I should. I haven't done that for a while because of this sort of recruitment issue we've been having, this volunteer issue of all the volunteers leaving at the same time, and me basically doing all the admin and doing things. So hopefully that will happen soon. So, but yeah, Simon's ideas here are a bit harsh, I think. So individuals that are constantly looking for something but never finding it because they do not have the spiritual mentality required to be one with the universe. I think that's a bit too much. Obviously, my understanding and the understanding of many other Aaiyanists is that people who are English-speaking Aaiyanists or Mandarin-speaking Aaiyanists or Tamil Aaiyanists who weren't who are not Dravidian Aaiyanists but speak Tamil, for example, or Telugu, they've made a conscious decision to be born out of the fold, to come back to the fold with a different perspective, and therefore their karmic memories are making them push forward with that goal quicker than usual. So to say that they don't have the spiritual mentality is a bit harsh, I think. But some Aaiyanists think that's fine. I mean, we're all one, so that's okay. Anyway, I will continue reading if I can choose anything. So the Iron World Foundation is receiving almost 2,000 to 3,000 emails per day, and so has to concentrate on the individuals that are more spiritually linked with the ethos of the chamber, Orion. Yeah. The Iron World Foundation will, of course, instruct all the thousands of people who are interested in time, but first they are looking for the next generation of leaders and disciples that will spread the message of Aayanism, not in this lifetime, but in countless lifetimes that will follow. Yes, it's true that we're getting more emails, in fact, now. In fact, it's sort of ebbs and flows. So, and a majority are Telugu, Tamil, so a lot of Hindi emails, many English emails, obviously, and so yeah, and so the problem is what Simon was saying here. They have to concentrate on the individual, more spiritually linked to the sort of the Aryan, the essence of Brahman. But now what's happening is that we're concentrating on just we're going to send out sort of bulk emails. Is that what is the word? I'll do a newsletter and I'll try to address people's concerns and in sort of in groups rather than via individuals. And I'm not going to concentrate on certain people neglecting others. That would be unfair. So I want to, we want to, and the volunteers as well, want to have a broader appeal, if that makes any sense. Okay, another interesting thing is that the chamber and the high-level Aaiyanists have noticed is this. Many of the individuals who are interested in Aayanism simply like to read about it and meditate on the message, but not act on the message. This is quite remarkable and surprising to most Aaiyanists, as another of the Aayanist mindset is one of vocational practice. Remember, Aayanism is vocational. In other words, you must put what you have learned into practice. For the more times you practice, the more resonant energy you will require. You help yourself and help others. Sorry, you heard some screaming, children screaming in the background. They're vocationally practicing their screaming, as I'd say. No. So basically, what Simon's saying is people who are interested in Aayanism simply like to read about it, and it's jnana yoga. So people want to acquire knowledge, which is good, but you also have to do vocational practice, which is true as well. And what I'm finding ever since I've been sort of volunteering for the Ironwell Foundation, is that is true. Many people want to know knowledge, but we are getting several hundred people email back with their sort of reports on how well they're, how can I put it, performing their healing actions, and they're reporting back their healings and their city actions and all that sort of stuff. Several hundred in English, several hundred in Tamil as well, and other people, but not the several thousands that we get. Most people are asking questions and asking us to pray for them and that sort of thing. So I guess people have different needs. Some people want to be helped. Aaiyyanism is about helping yourself, but some people aren't quite ready to make that next step yet. But by doing it, Aaiyyanism, you're helping yourself. So it's vocational practice is always the key. So scroll down a bit further. An example of knowledge without action is this. The Ironwell Foundation recently gave out its healing manual in English. This was a few years ago when this was written, by the way, so a lot of people have read the healing manual in English now. To almost 15,000 new members to learn, and heal the wider public. One of the tenets in the manual is that for each healing you perform, you must inform the Ironwell Foundation so that they can record your progress. The more healings you perform, the more you'll become resonant with the universal healing energy and the positive locus that exist in it. So that makes sense, yeah. So the more you practice Aaiyyanism, the more attached to the loka the more attached to the loka that the more resonantly attached you will become to it, to all the healing lokas, that is. As you perform more and more healings, you will rise in the rank of the Ironwell Foundation. After you reach a certain level, then you will be invited to join one of the schools of Aaiyyanism. So yeah, several people have been asked to join schools, and several hundred people have been asked who weren't reading Aaiyyanism in the first place. But some people are not informing us of their healings, which is okay. People want to do it themselves. But what Simon is saying that if you have 15,000 downloads of the manual, or there should have been sort of a swarm of information of people healing people, and but we're getting several hundred people, which is, I guess, several hundreds of people in different languages. So maybe it's 1,000, 2,000, something like that. A very small, a small minority, which is okay, I guess. It's like the YouTube channel, and there's more people who listen to the podcast than the YouTube channel. Obviously, I'm speaking English, so there's less English speaking Aaiyanists than there are other Indian languages or other people from around the world. There's actually quite a few of them in Africa as well. I should mention that, like from Nigeria and Uganda and South Africa as well. I was emailing an Aaiyyanist a few days ago as well from South Africa. Basically what Simon's saying is that it's knowledge without action. Is like people learn things, but we're not seeing the feedback from that. But I guess that's the way most people operate. We don't expect all 15,000 people to be emailing us back and being really proactive. There's also obviously going to be people who just want to read it and then just do it in their own time and maybe not email us all the time. And some people who do, I don't know. But we have to more evidence to find out from that in due course. Anyway, so what else is Sivan saying in the basis of Aaiyyanist philosophy? That's where that chapter and about this paragraph here. Okay, many people are also healing people for a small fee and are making a good living from this knowledge. Ideally, the healing sessions should be free, but the Ironwell Foundation does not recognize that people live. Does recognize that people live in the material world, this physical world you have. So they must pay for things like accommodation and food. So they do allow healers and cities to charge a reasonable amount for their time and services. This is all described in the Healer's Manual. Yeah, people who read the Healer's Manuals will know what this is about. Obviously, some people like me, for example, I sleep on people's floors and travel around a bit. So I don't charge for my services. That's because but people help me via I don't know, accommodation and what's the other thing, maybe food as well, so that sort of stuff. But other Ionists do, and that's good for them. It's not for everyone, of course, but that's basically that. Not sure what I'm going to say for that. The bottom line is that the more people you heal, the more attuned you are to the locus you'll become. And if you have to charge a fee, that's fine. That's what the manual says. We live in this material world, but we exist in the spiritual and material. We exist in many different dimensions. So just do whatever it is you need to be happy. No, to be what's the word I'm looking for? To exist. Yeah, that's what do whatever you need to do to exist in whichever sphere that you're existing in at this point in time. Okay, I'll just find the next part of the bit. I've lost my place again as usual. Need my glasses changed, I think. Okay, yes, I'm just found my place again. The Iron World Foundation gave the English healing manual for free to many thousands of people, 15,000 people at the time that Simon wrote this, around the world, and expected there to be a rush of healings and a rise in positive energy from the planet. This article was written about 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember when it was done. However, what we found in reality was that only 500 dedicated souls put their knowledge into practice. I think he means English people, English speaking people. There were the manual was also given to Tamil speakers as well, but it was given what's it called again at temples basically during Murugan festivals. So we gave quite a lot out then. But what Sivan found many years ago was that 500 dedicated souls put their knowledge into practice and are healing people on a regular basis. These 500 people had been fast-tracked into the Aaiyyanist fold, been given more free reading material and iron stones, and are actually concentrating on the foundation. The low number of active new Aayyanists, 500 out of 15,000, however, has deeply troubled the Iron Foundation. What can we say about that then? The first thing to know is that ironstones are now, we don't have many of them anymore. We're going to concentrate on giving those to the patrons, but that's about it really. And I think when this was written, it was sort of it was deeply troubling. So why was there so little uptake when we gave lots of people the knowledge? 500 people isn't a small number, and maybe a few thousand if we count other people who speak different languages as well. But there was just a bit of soul searching going on. What's going on? The various Aaiyyanist schools were disappointed also. We had hundreds of emails per day from non-members asking us to join certain schools, such as the Ardra Harita, Atmanit Pure, or even the Abhishawa Tantric schools. However, Aaiyyanist schools will only take people who are at a certain level, which is only determined by your healings or siddhi actions. You cannot simply join an Aaiyyanist school. You have to be a practicing Aaiyyanist and have informed the Aaiyyan Foundation of your healings or siddhi actions, such that they know what level of understanding you have reached. That's partially true, but obviously you can join a school without being a member of the Aaiyyan Foundation if you know Aayyanists, like if you know the Aaiyyanist group or the other Aaiyyanist groups around the world. You can, or if you are Dravidian Aaiyani speaker, you'll probably know people who are members of schools and just join that way. I guess he's talking about English speakers who are finding Aayanism via the Iron World Foundation. Once you reach a high level of understanding, only then will you be qualified to be approached by a school. There is one surprising success story. The Abhichara Tantric School has recruited many members who are performing their ancient summoning rituals. But it is disappointing that other forms of positive Aaiyyanist knowledge are not being acted upon. Yeah, so interesting theory. Obviously, Sivan has his own perspective on which form of Aaiyyanism he prefers. And he's disappointed that there aren't many positive practitioners of Aaiyyanism, of healers. There were many tantric practitioners of Aaiyyanism. Other schools have their own sort of entrance criteria, and so some schools are quite strict, some schools are quite lax. I guess that's what it was. I guess that's what it is basically. So this particular fragment of the Basis of Aaiyyanist Philosophy is how can I put it? It's just asking people to get more involved. That's all. So, which is fair enough. But this was written at a point in time a few years ago, and things have moved on now. So if you want to email us, in fact, you'll be emailing me and some of the volunteers now. We're not as quite as dogmatic as I say. We're a bit more. We're very, very open. So we can give you the knowledge. If you want to act on it, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay. That's fine as well. Just as long as you can grasp it and understand it, and then take it with you throughout this lifetime and maybe your next lifetime and whatever. So in summary, at the end of this this chapter, how does one become a full Aaiyyanist? Okay. So in summary, the Aaiyanists want to share their knowledge with others who will practice the teaching of Aaryanism in the wider world for a long period of time. It is of little interest to the Aayanist to share knowledge with someone who will simply study it and keep it to themselves or move on to other fields, i.e. someone who thinks in the short term. You must think long term, for following the teachings of Aayanism will not just take this lifetime to master, but many lifetimes before you reach oneness with Brahman. So he's saying here, it is of little interest to the Aayanist to share knowledge with someone who will simply study it and keep it for themselves. That's actually not true. I mean, I don't mind sharing knowledge with people, and then for them to take it and then move on to other fields and do things. So, and if you wanted to think short term, I suppose long term, that's okay. That's your way to Brahman oneness, is thinking for the moment and thinking about their next meal, for example. I don't know. So this is I guess I'm sort of the one person, or maybe I'm the right person to read this chapter, because I sort of disagree with it in many respects. But we're all part of Brahman oneness, so maybe it's good to have two different sort of opposing views. Maybe I should have what's the English word? A debate with Sivan about this. Maybe I don't know how people would react to two Aaryannists talking about the finer points of Aaryanism. I might get like maybe a few more views. I don't know. No, that's fine. Anyway, actually, we're building up the YouTube channel now, which is quite nice. We're getting several dedicated views all the time, and we've got lots of subscribers, almost 100 now. And then we'll be able to have our dedicated URL. So I'll have to decide, or I'll have to sort of liaise with the high Aayanist to decide what they want to call the site. Aayanism maybe, or I'm not sure. Yeah. Murugan Aayanism, I don't know. Yeah, and also we're having more people listen to the podcast. I guess people can download it on Spotify or whatever they use, and it's just more convenient just to take it offline and just listen to it rather than. And also the added advantage of a podcast is they don't have to see me. That's right. No, That's just a funny one. No. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Podcasts are good. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will be moving around, doing my various duties, and I'll get back to you soon. So subscribe to the podcast. If you like the podcast, join us on Patreon. I'll put all the details of how to join us, and email the Iron War Foundation is another good one as well. And yes, I will speak to you soon, and I'll, as usual, press the button to end the podcast. Okay, bye.